Hey, this is Christian Roldan.
And Jordan Morris from the Seattle Sounders Football Club.
And you're listening to...
There's no something like this.
Will Bruin once again. And can this be the start of something?
Will Bruin does his score goal.
Will Bruin got it! Will Bruin got it!
Welcome back to another episode of Bear With Us on the Sounder Heart Podcast Network. I am Jeremiah Shan, joined today by, of course, my co-host Will Bruin. Will,
hey,
how's it
Jeremiah,
going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm getting ready to head out to Hawaii. I'm gonna not be covering the Sounders Montreal game in person, which is a little surreal. I don't miss a lot of games, but
Yeah, well, I mean, you go to Hawaii, I'll let that one slide.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, spring break is, the kids were very adamant about wanting to do something for spring break. And what kind of dad would I be if I just said, nope, I got to cover the Sounders Montreal game, guys.
Yeah. Oh, so wait, spring break in Seattle's right now?
It's starting. Yeah. Like they're in school today. This is the last day of school.
Down here in Austin, my kids just had theirs about 2 weeks ago. It was like mid-beginning of March.
Yeah, even some of our, like, I was talking to one of my kids' friends whose was this week. So it's, it's staggered all over the place. I guess.
It's something as long as it's in spring.
Right. Exactly. So before we get into it, how is retired? How is being a stay-at-home dad for you?
Just twiddling my thumbs and getting bored. It's hard. It's honestly hard with 3 kids. The big thing is now trying to find kindergarten for the oldest. Liam will be going to kindergarten in the fall, and we've gone through like 3 or 4 different schools trying to figure out where we want him to go, because we want Cohen, who's the middle. He's going to be in like pre-K, so we want them both at the same school, and not every elementary school has pre-K as well. So that's been the big pressing issue I've been dealing with without having to go to practice or anything.
So it's not been scouting best soccer programs. It's
exactly.
Best pre-K program.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding where we can get them both together. But
right,
they're still doing their soccer. They love doing their soccer. They're having fun. So we have soccer games Saturdays, soccer practice Wednesday nights.
All right. So do you get recognized when you go out to practice or games or whatever? Are people like, oh shit, you're Will Bruin?
No. So I'm sure it would have been different in Seattle, but only being in Austin for 1 year.
Okay.
It's not as prevalent, but like I was talking to, because the coaches are like volunteer coaches, their kids are on the team. Like Liam is 5. They play 3v3 to small goals. So it's like they have maybe 6 people on their team. And I was talking to their 2 coaches, and they finally got around to being like, so like, what do you do? Are you in tech? Because I told them I moved from Seattle last year. Oh, so are you in tech and stuff? I was like, no, I actually just retired from soccer. And then they both were like, oh God, you guys, you probably, what do you think about our training? So I was like, don't worry about it. It's 3v3 5-year-old kids. It's fun.
They're not doing rondos yet. Don't worry.
No, not yet. They did a little knockout, shoot the ball into the mini goal, and if everybody makes it, you keep scooting back for soccer last night. So that was pretty fun to watch. Liam hit the post at the very end. He would have won if he made it, but post didn't out.
All right. So you see, Sacha Kljestan got a bunch of his buddies together to play.
Funny story about that. He texted me.
Yeah, he texted you?
He texted me and asked to play in the game last night.
And you did, but you didn't do it?
He texted me Sunday night. This was Sunday night at like 9 p.m. And he's like, sorry for the late text. You want to come play for Des Moines and Omaha? And I was like, oh, geez, this is. I told him though, if they would have won, that I would have played in the next round, but they didn't win.
Oh,
I know.
So you were open to it. You didn't reject it out of hand.
No, it was just too quick for me. Like a Sunday night games Wednesday, and even the same thing with the 77, the soccer tournament that's going on. I've had a lot of guys asking me to play on their teams, and I'm just like, I'm still too fresh out of retirement to like really want to jump back into it now. It's like next year I probably will, but like, I don't know.
I can definitely appreciate that. I was actually listening to an interview with Sacha about his decision to play in this game, and he was saying how he had no real interest in playing at least outdoor, like full-sided soccer once he was done playing, because it was like that's not a whole lot of fun to just be running 110-yard fields.
Yeah, exactly. And like, well, that's what I told him too. I was like, look, I haven't really been doing anything. I've been going to slow jogs, maybe doing a Peloton. Like, no way I can give you 90 minutes at any kind of like good availability. He was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." He was like kind of pushing for it, but at the same time, not really. So that's when we met in the middle, and I was like, "Look, if you win, I'll play the next round." So then that gives me another week or so to really start like making sure my knees don't crack.
Yeah, I mean, he was, he was funny. He mentioned that he had some hip issues after play because he played 120 minutes in the first game.
I know, didn't he? Yeah, wasn't that on turf too?
Yes, it was on. Yeah, exactly. It was on turf. It was at like a high school football field.
Yeah.
In
I saw
Southern
like
California.
screenshots of it. Yeah.
But yeah, so do you imagine that you'll be playing like an adult league soccer at some point? Like not necessarily soon, but like
Probably not. Probably not adult league soccer, but like I kept saying, like you've seen the TST tournament, right? That happens in
totally.
June. Like all my friends from Indiana have a team, and they were trying so hard to get me on that team. And I'm just like, nah, I don't want to. So even like that mindset, I'm like, I probably won't be in a men's league. I would rather take this time to join like a softball league or like a pickleball league or like something I haven't done that would be like more fun for me, you know?
All right, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I mean, you spent, the last 30 years of your life playing soccer, a lot.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, I love the game, but I don't think I love it that much where I'm going to be 40 still wanting to go play in indoor leagues. Who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe after a year or two away from it, I'll be like, man, I miss playing like not as competitive indoor games or something. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
So
but
who knows? It's hard to say right now.
Right. You could scratch that itch playing, softball, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
without dying.
Yeah, exactly. And like if I get on a staff somewhere in MLS and like being around the games and being around the game still, I think that would be enough for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just like being around it, not necessarily having to play it, but maybe doing like crossbar challenge and stuff.
Right. Of course. Of course. So you mentioned when we were talking before that you finished you're finishing up a coaching license. Is that right?
Yeah, the U.S. Soccer B license officially concludes at the end of April, even though I'm done with all the assignments and stuff. So I've got to wait a few more weeks to like actually tweet and Instagram the license, but get it out in the world so people don't think I fell into a dark hole somewhere and disappeared. But that's just a waiting game now.
Yeah. So
it was like 6 months. It started in end of August last year. So it's been a long one.
And so how does that work? Do you literally need a license to get a coaching gig in MLS?
I don't necessarily think you like need it. I think it's one of those things like highly preferred.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the thing was like, since you can jump straight to the B if you're a current professional athlete, which I was in August of last year, and you have at least 5 years minimum in the professional. Otherwise, you have to go like the whole route, which is like grassroots. Start with how Liam's doing 3v3. Like that's like the beginning ages. You work on like your E, your D, your C, and then you can jump into your B. But like I could only do B and then A, and then after B is obviously the A. But you have to have access to a pro team, whether that be like a second team, USL team, first team, to be able to do pretty much all the same stuff just in the environment.
So did you find that experience of going through the classes to be useful, or do you think it's more checking a box?
It gave me a different perspective, that's for sure, of like all the prepping and planning and everything that goes into a training. Now, granted, I was with the U15 academy team, so you could be prepping a training session and then you get 3 kids who parents can't bring them to the session. That changes numbers and stuff, and you have to like reorganize and regroup for that. But I do think it was good. I think it was a little long. I don't think it needs to be half a year. But there's a lot of information to touch on, but like once you really get the grasp of all the handbooks and the resource books and everything they have, and then you get out and do your stuff, it's like, okay, now I see like the inner workings of like even just cutting your own film, planning sessions, getting the sessions ready, organizing the sessions, like everything that goes into it, as opposed to when you're a pro, you just walk out there and everything's ready.
Right.
I bet you my first session, I made the lines for, I don't know, it was like possession drill. And after I put all the cones, I looked back and I was like, man, I swear I'm not drunk. Like, why are these lines all crooked? And then somebody was like, hey, word of advice, walk backwards when you make your lines. I was like, oh, okay.
So it's that kind of, are you learning like theory and
no, you definitely
philosophy?
learn like you learn U.S. soccer's philosophy of like breaking down the game, like the 4 phases of attacking, defending, transition to attack, transition to defend. But it's not like U.S. soccer. We play this way. It says it gives you like principles, sub principles, main principles. Like when you're attacking in possession, you're trying to break lines to progress the ball, and like just things like that, like theoretical ways of attacking, like start on one side, finish on the other, like just a bunch of good like outline bullet points that you can build off of, and then you make your own philosophy from essentially all those choices that you have, which is breaking down the game into a broad perspective, and then you can make it as detailed as you want.
Do you think you have a philosophy or even like a perspective that would be different than like are you at the stage now where you're developing a real coaching personality?
I don't think so yet. I think I'm at the stage where I definitely have an idea of how I would like my team to play, but everything is so fluid and so different that you have to be able to adapt to the team you have. So like you can come into a job and be like, I want to play a 4-3-3, I want a 1-6, I want an 8-10 high up the field, I want 2 fast wingers wide. This is how I'm going to play. And then you get there and you don't have the personnel to play it. How do you adapt and change your tactics and things like that? So I definitely think I'm building a base on like how I would like my teams to play and how I would like to see teams play. But like I think coaching is 90% how you can interact with the players, how you relate with the players, how you get along with the players, and then giving them the platform to succeed.
And so when you watch coaches or you watch players, is there anyone that you've learned to appreciate, or any team that you've learned to appreciate differently as opposed to when you were just looking at them as an opponent?
Not necessarily. I mean, I really do like even Wilfred Nancy when he was in Montreal and then now in Columbus. Just his system and the way he plays he stayed true to himself and how he wants to play. So that's something that like you can see it in systems. Even like in Austin, you can even see the way Josh has wanted to play since the beginning. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but he's always stayed true to how he wants to play. And I think you got to respect that. That's very respectable as a coach, but at the same time, you also have to be able to adapt.
Yeah, no, I think that's always one of the things I think is maybe underrated about a lot of coaches is their sort of almost like, I don't know, you have a coach like a Siggy, or maybe to a certain degree even like Brian Schmetzer, who they don't come in with a real, like they're not dead set on playing a certain way. They just sort of,
for sure. And like the coaches that can adapt and like they aren't too stubborn to be like my way or the highway, I think those usually have the most success because it's a give and take with the players. It's a give and take relationship. You know what I mean? You gotta get buy-in from the players. You want them. I've never played for Greg Vanny, but he's somebody that, like, looking on the outside looking in, he seems like he's a player's coach. He seems like he has a system that he likes to play, but he can tweak it here and there, and it always seems like his players like to play for him. So, and that's something you can even see with the Galaxy group now. I think they look really good, and I think it took him a few years. I think, what year is it for Vanny there?
I think it's 3.
Yeah, it's taken him a few years, but everything that went on, he kind of knew it was going to take that, and you can see their style, the way they play, and I think they're going to be a good team.
Well, that's a good transition into talking about the Sounders game this last week. What did you make of that? The conditions obviously made it tough.
I had no idea because I watched the whole Austin Dallas game, and then because that game was on 9:30 here, and 9:30 is close to my bedtime these days. So I watched the first half. I did not know it rained so much, and the field was like waterlogged.
Yes,
it looked really bad, but at the same time, the ball was rolling decent. But sometimes it would stop. The goal, maybe conditions have some type of situation with that sliding off Steph's hands or something like that. It's just unlucky.
Yeah. I know that we talked.
Seattle created a lot of chances. They played well. They created good opportunities. Just, that's just the way the game goes sometimes on the road. Yeah.
So, the Sounders obviously are off to an 0-3-2 start. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a disastrous start, but it does, getting that first win it's one thing to go 5 games winless at a random point in the season. You've obviously been through stretches like that, but is it different when it's the first 5 games of the season?
Yeah, yeah, no, because like 5 games, yes, and then it's kind of almost like, all right, let's get the monkey off our back and get that 3 points and take a deep breath. Because the longer it goes on, the more tighter you start to play a little bit, creeps into the back of your mind, especially at the beginning of the year. In the middle of the season, not so much because you've already got 3 points under your belt, hopefully. But it's it happens. We've been there. Sounders have obviously been. I mean, I don't know about this much, but like gone through spells like that. And the way I look at it is, every single team in the league goes through it. Why not go through it at the beginning of the year as opposed to the end of the year?
Right.
As long as it doesn't become a trend.
Right. So you're obviously, you're not in the locker room. I don't imagine that you're talking to these guys on a weekly basis. But what would you imagine the attitude is inside the Sounders locker room? You it sounds like you don't suspect there's any panic.
No, I looked at that group, and that's a winning group. Like, everybody's been around. It's a mix of young guys and good senior veterans that know how to win. So like you see the 11 they field, the starting 11 guys coming in off the bench. They know what it takes to win. They know what they need to do. It's not like they're like, oh man, why aren't we? What's going on? What do we have to do to fix this? They don't have to fix anything. They just, a couple bounces here and there, things can change quick. And then and then guess what? You go on a 2-3 game win streak. You jump 6-9 points. You're right back up the table.
Do you imagine that Schmetzer is changing his messaging inside, or is it more? Do you think it's more what he's?
I would think it's more what he's telling you guys. I would think, because like, you want to show that, okay, this is a pressing point. Like, we need to get 3 points, but at the same time, when you're talking to that group internally, the group knows that. That they need 3 points. They have, like I said, national team players, good players, been around. They know what they need to do. So that's not an issue. And you want to sort it out sooner than later.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything to be made of, they've only gotten 1 goal from open play, and it was a Danny Masovsky header. So Jordan doesn't have a goal.
That one, was that in San Jose?
That was in San Jose. Yeah. That was, I don't know if you caught this one, but they equalized, and literally on the ensuing, they came back from 2-0 down. Next kickoff.
Yeah, that's. But you know what I mean? Like, when things aren't going well, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you are coming off 2-3 wins and something like that happens, you no pun intended, you bear down and you and you defend it right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Jordan doesn't have a goal. Raul hasn't scored from open play. Do you think that's getting in a striker's head, or are they also pretty? It's not the first slump that either one of these guys have been through.
Yeah, they know they're going to score goals. They're going to end the year with goals, probably double digits. So they're both seasoned vets. They know what they need to do to score. Things happen, like when it rains, it pours, right? So, like, of course, both of them are going through something right now. But then guess what? When they both break out of it, they'll both be scoring goals, and goals will come in bunches. So I don't think it's something to worry about. I think it's something that they put more pressure on themselves internally than they probably should, because then that leads to like slightly changed decision making in the game. But like I said, I wouldn't be worried. They'll score their goals.
So, Jordan, at least externally, he emotes. He has a lot of he has like very visible body language, right?
Yeah.
He's not worried about putting hands on head or doing whatever.
Yep.
Is that something that is noticed inside, and do you think it says anything, or is that just the way he deals with it, and it, maybe it's not a big deal?
I'm assuming that's just the way he deals with it. I don't think it's ever a big deal. Jordan, he's one of the nicest guys around. Like, sometimes you just do things and you react ways. That's just how it is. I don't think it's to read anything into it. I'm not even sure like what kind of, or what time, what example you're talking about. But
well, like at the end of the game, so he missed a chance at the end of the game, and he was like, he went to his knees, face down in the ground, and just kind of hands on his head, like.
Oh, I'm sure he knows, like, man, that was the chance.
Not at other players, more at his own.
100%. And like, I'm sure he's putting a lot of pressure on himself right now to score, when he's one of the leaders of the team. So when things aren't going well, I'm sure he puts extra pressure on himself to perform. And then if he doesn't perform, I'm sure he holds himself to the highest standard. And that's just an internal thing that a lot of players don't have. So that's a good thing to have. And he's probably the first one to be the most frustrated, the first one to be the most critical. And and that's why he scored so many goals and has had such a successful career so far, and why he will continue to keep scoring goals.
So it doesn't sound like you are. If I were to put a percentage on it, I'm getting almost 0% worried that the Sounders are like washed.
Come back to me at like 12, 13 games in the season and tell me how many points they're at, and then we can have more of a conversation about that. But right now, I wouldn't be worried about it, because I even look at the standings. I see Sounders at the bottom. I'm like, good luck, everybody looking down, because they're going to be coming up.
Well, I'll take some heart in that. One of the things that the Sounders have really struggled with, and maybe one of the reasons that there's reason for optimism, is they've just had a hell of an injury spat going.
Yeah.
They have not been able to. This potentially will be the first game where they're even able to field a starting 11 where everyone is starting in a position that they're used to. Which I would imagine creates some problems, right?
Yeah.
What do you make of the? You played for the Sounders for a long time. I don't know that it's probably somewhat different training staff, but do you, when there's injury stretches like this, do the players start to get frustrated with the training staff? Do they get frustrated with themselves? Like how does that come out?
Well, my experiences are, when you see a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year, that means, for me at least, that means the team might have been a little underloaded in preseason, because you don't want to go balls to the wall all preseason, because then you're going to be exhausted come the start of the season. So you got to find that fine balance of kind of like easing into preseason, but also being able to ramp up leading into the first game to be able to play at a high level once the season starts without getting injuries. And that's kind of a fine line to walk, because every player is different. Every player wants different loads. Some players want to do extra after training. Some players want to get through training. That's just the nature of the team. That's just how every team is. And, I've been on teams where a lot of injuries have happened at the beginning of the year, and it frustrates guys because they're excited to start the season. They want to get going. Maybe sometimes it was a guy that was saying, hey, I need to be doing more in preseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get injured and they say, hey, look, you weren't listening to me. Or maybe it's a guy that says, I'm doing too much in preseason, and then they get injured and they say, hey, you weren't listening to me. So it's a tough one. But the way I always come back to is like how you read it and how you react to it through the remainder of the year is the most important, because like every team's gonna have injuries at every point of the season. So like for me, it always comes back to, all right, I'd rather knock these out of the way early in the season, because then you know what you have to do the rest of the year for your activation, your prehabs, everything you need to do to make sure that this doesn't become a nagging chronic injury. So now you've got your sheet of what you need to do before training for every activation, what you need to do post training to make sure you're staying up on your injuries and stuff. Obviously you can't control, injuries happen, but like if you know you have a nagging hamstring, then are you doing your Nordic lowers and things like that every day after your lift, or when training staff is telling you? So it's a fine line, and it's something that, like, injuries happen. It's just how you deal with it after.
And I'm guessing you just completely anything that's not soft tissue, you probably just like, you can't, there's nothing you can.
Yeah, 100%. I'm purely talking about like muscle injuries. Like, yeah, like if you're going to do, knock on wood, like ACL or something, you can't, like, that's your year. But like bones, like things you can't control, like that. I'm only talking about like purely like quads, groins, muscles, things you actually can at least somewhat strengthen the muscles around them, or, work on your mobility.
What was your perception of the Sounders training staff? Did you feel like well taken care of, or were there times where you're like,
yeah, no, I always liked the training staff. I always thought they did a good job. I thought Cornish always did a really good job with rehab of guys that got injured. I know Adam's the main guy now. I had Sean Muldoon the whole time there. I liked Adam a lot too. I've never interacted with him when he's been the main guy, but I always got along well with him when he was the second guy, because he was somebody that like he was always open to you doing more or less and stuff. So that's first of all, that's the type of personality you want at the top. So I think the staff's doing well.
So one of the big things that happened this offseason is they opened up this new training center. You and I had talked a few times about the state of the previous training facility, specifically the tented weight room. Always got a lot of attention.
They should have brought it with them.
Yeah, right. What do you? I mean, how much difference does it make? I mean, I would assume Austin had pretty nice facility. Like, what is where do you see those? Where do you see that show up?
It definitely makes a difference, but it also spoils you. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, this is nice. I'm coming in every morning, got warm breakfast. I got nice training room, nice locker room, state of the art weights, like everything I need. Like, this is good. Well, now it's on you to perform. You've got no more excuses. And I think I'll go to the grave with this. I think like Starfire kept everybody like it was a common complaint amongst everybody. So everybody could kind of rally together and be like, this place is awful. Like, what are we doing? Look at all these other teams have all these great facilities. But guess what? We kept winning.
Right.
So,
do you think
it will go down?
So I can see how maybe it almost builds. What you're saying is it almost builds like a camaraderie when the facilities are bad.
Yeah, it's like we would go out into the tent for like a lift when nobody wanted to lift. They had 2 racks, and somebody would get on the aux cord and start playing circus music and stuff. So it was fun. It was fun.
So, but do you think it helps with recruitment to have is it like
100%? Yeah, like if you're bringing a big time. Like, I wonder what Raul first thought when he came, or Nico first thought when they came to sign with the Sounders. I'm sure they tried to keep him at Starfire probably as little as possible. And they probably just showed him, hey, look at our game day experience and everything. But now that you have this new beautiful facility, it's like, come see everything we have. And I don't need to sell you on anything because you can see it.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, I would imagine on some level, you could only use Starfire. Like the league was moving to a point where there was probably some like drag.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I'm sure the league's not going to tell Seattle anything like, hey, this is what you got to do. It's only team to win Champions League. So it's like, and we did that with Starfire. But it was just time.
Yeah. Speaking of Champions League, have you been following what's been going on this week with the Champions Cup?
I saw scores. I watched the second half of Miami game last night. It's not looking too hot for MLS teams right now.
It is not. Does it give you some added sense of pride though, knowing that, since you guys won Champions League, no MLS team has even beaten a Liga MX team?
No, I think we kind of made it harder for everybody now, because now I think Liga MX is like, oh man, that's over with now. MLS team won. All right, let's shut the door again for the next however many years it was.
But do you take some like pride and like
for sure? Yeah. Oh, for sure. I put it like in all my bios. Like, I literally just for the first time in my life, I started making a resume.
Yes.
And I put it on there. I was like, Champions League winner. So it's fun.
What do you on your resume are you listing like your playing career like at the top?
Yeah, I got nothing else to list. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah,
I put co-host podcasts.
There you go. That's right. That's what you got.
Color commentary, announcing games. Like,
yeah. How did that go? By the way,
I was talking about the one game Colorado. Announced.
Yeah.
No, but the Verde Light show is pretty cool. It's just like Austin's TV show where they recap the previous week and look forward to the next week. So technically I'm 1 for 1. Austin got the first win on my first preview.
There you go.
My 3 points to the game were the big ones,
Yeah, well, maybe what we'll start doing is if we get into a regular habit of this, I'll give you some homework assignment. You can watch the opposing team and you can do some like film breakdown, and you can
perfect.
And
all right, we can do that.
You can practice, like, this is coaching practice.
One thing I've noticed about this, and some people might think it's lazy of me, but like, I just think I'm good at processing things in the moment. So like, I'll watch a game. Unless I'm looking for a very specific moment, I really don't need to go back and watch, because I can just remember, like, okay, this team like to do this. Like, the first half of the Seattle Galaxy game, all they were doing was trying to get it Payne still and Peck wide and let him go 1v1 and try to cross it into the box. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I think you get caught in the weeds when you go and rewatch too much film and try to overanalyze it.
Sure. And you start maybe, I would imagine there's a tendency to make more out of one moment than
exactly. Because like think
that wasn't necessarily like a indicative of a larger pattern.
Yeah, because like you think about it, like just off the top of my head, I had, and this game was what, last weekend, this past weekend, like so I haven't really thought about it at all, but like, was that Peck's first game?
It was, I think it may have been his first start. Yeah, he looked pretty good, but like dribbling inside, try to combine through the middle. Payne still is going to kill you with pace out wide. Yeah. So like, that's a great combination to have for wingers. And then you got Ricky Puig in the middle, who's going to get on the ball and try to create. Jovic didn't start, but it's another poacher in the box. Like, that's a good front four. Yeah, it's a very good front four. So turning to Montreal a little bit, have you had a chance to, I don't know, look at them at all?
No, not too much, honestly. That's somebody I'll have to go back and watch. I mean, I'll catch many of their games. I know people are excited about that new coach from Columbus too.
Yeah, Laurent Courtois, who
that's right.
I imagine you played against a few times.
Yes, I did. He's a smart brain of the game, that's for sure.
Is it a little surreal to see guys that you played against that you maybe considered contemporaries who are not just in coaching but are already like coaching MLS teams?
I know, it's crazy. He made a good ascent. I mean, but you know, it's you take over as second team coach and you do well, and then bam, there you go. You got your own team, but it also helps that he speaks French, right? Yeah.
He does speak French. Yeah, he's actually French, and I think maybe he even played for. He played for Montreal for a while. I think he did.
He did, but why do I think? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was Belgium for some reason. But
oh, you might be right. That might be right.
But yeah, you know, Montreal they've always needed a French-speaking coach, which they've always tried to. But I think he'll do well there.
Yeah. He's French, best I can tell. Yes, he's definitely French. He's a bit older. He's older than I realized. He's 45, so he's
he is? Okay, yeah, because he was older when he came over. Yeah.
You know who I was getting him confused in my head with was Simon.
Me too. Yep, me too.
I was totally thinking it was
when you literally said that. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Simon, but I could be wrong here.
No, I was totally talking about Simon, and I think literally in this conversation, I realized I totally thought it was Lauren. I thought it was Simon the entire time.
I did the same thing because when I like looked him up, because I saw the name, I was like, I'm pretty sure I played against this guy, and then I looked him up and I was like, no, I don't recognize him. But I did the same thing. I was like, in my mind, I was like, this is Simon.
Right.
So
that is pretty funny. But
Simon's Belgian, right?
Huh?
Simon's Belgian, right?
Yes, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he's also the one I think that played for Montreal.
Yeah. Bald center back. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that had the. I think he also scored against you guys in LA in the.
Yeah.
That,
he did. LAFC. Yeah.
Right, but anyway, different player. So I don't know why I'm still talking about this.
Interesting. All right, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So I did want to close out this episode with a little bit of a quick fire. It just was a thing that got into my head, and it's about sort of the, maybe dovetailing a little bit with reliving your playing days, and it's about jersey etiquette. And now that you're a retired person, sort of the way you think of this.
Yeah.
And so I have a few questions here for you. You said you're a Peloton guy.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Will you wear your old jerseys as workout gear?
No.
Just no. All right. Why? What's the thinking there? That's not what they're for.
No, I've got exactly. I've got training tops. I've got old warm-up tops. I got a bunch of other old things I could wear.
Okay. Would you wear an old? Okay, but would you wear an old training if you went to the gym? Which it doesn't sound like you go to the gym. It sounds like you work out at home.
Yeah. Right? No. Yeah. Exactly.
What would you think if you saw a player? You saw a player wearing one of their old either jerseys or training tops at the gym?
I wouldn't think much of it. I wouldn't do it. Like Liam had practice last night. He wanted to wear a Bruin Austin jersey, and I was taking him, so I said no. And then Caitlin was like, "Well, why? He can wear it if he wants." So
I thought you were going
that's
somewhere.
Just how I am.
That's funny. You're just like, you're not wearing this, son.
Yeah, I was like, you can wear it if mommy takes you, but if I'm taking you, you're not going to wear my jersey.
Right. That's
I don't know. I just don't like the.
I can see that. Would you wear an old jersey if you were playing pickup or like adult league?
No, I would do a training top, or like I've got a bunch of Lululemon like specific workout tops that I wear and stuff. So
okay. Do you know of any player? Like, what would you like if you saw a player? If you're at an adult league game and you saw Kellen, let's just say,
he would do it.
He would do
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And what
I'd be like,
would you give him a hard time?
Whose jersey you wearing? Guy was shit.
All right. And so this is actually a question that you answered, but when you meet parents, whether it's from school or at practice or whatever, do you tell how long do you wait until you tell them you're a former player?
I try not to until they ask.
Fair enough. Will you tell if you go to if you're out with you're out with friends, mutual friends or something like that?
Yeah.
Do you also avoid that?
Yeah, I do. Caitlin will tell people. I only tell if they ask.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm just not because I'm that way. I don't really ask people what they do, and I don't know if that's I don't know if that's snobby of me showing I don't care, but I just don't ask because I don't want it to be reciprocated.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, if you're not ready to answer that's a good one not to get into.
Yeah. I mean, I had no problem answering it, but I would just be like, because then people all of a sudden you say that people are like, oh, you're like, no, it
changes the conversation.
Yeah, it shouldn't change anything,
Yeah, I hear you. All right, well, Will, it's been great doing this. Hopefully we get to do it a few more times before you go get a real job and you feel like you're too big time for this. But
yeah, we'll see how long it takes me to fill out that resume.
Yeah.
There's only so many playing years I can fill out.
Does each team get its own entry on the resume?
Yeah, because otherwise it just would have been one line, 13-year ex-pro.
Right.
So I really had to break it down. I did apparently you're supposed to do newest to oldest when you go down. So Austin 1 year, Seattle, Houston, and then even broke down my degree was exercise science with a minor in coaching. So I was exercise science minor in coaching, completion of the U.S. soccer coaching. I was just grasping for stuff.
Well, if you ever need a pad, you need to pad the resume. You feel free to list podcast co-hosts. So.
Oh, I've already done that.
Good. So. I'm happy to hear that. And I'll be a reference if you need one.
Perfect. I'll put you on there because right now it says references upon request.
Yeah.
Because not to toot my own horn, but I've got people I could put in there for different situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For
I don't want to put somebody in that they're high up, but I don't need them to talk to this person for this job. Right. You know what I mean? So
yeah, you don't want to blow it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, Will, thank you again for doing this. It's been a pleasure. We're gonna mine some real Will Bruin content here. I think.
Let's do it. I have nothing else to do.
Yeah,
figure out that kindergarten.
Exactly. All right. Well, I'm Jeremiah Cheyenne, signing off for Will Bruin on Bear With Us, part of the Sound at Heart podcast network, and we'll catch you next time.
Let's do it. Take it easy.
We love you. Let's win another one.